Alright everyone, so here we are on a new X-theme WordPress website that I'm going to be building for you guys in the next coming weeks. And I'm on the forum and I purchased the theme and I'm very involved, so hopefully there's going to be some good content for you X developers. I'm sorry that there's some construction outside my window as well, so I don't really know why they're doing that. But we're going to focus on building a custom button like this right here, and making the colors different and the background different, because X-theme gives us these buttons, but they don't fully explain how to make custom buttons. They seem to want us to have one universal style which we control through our customizer in the background like this. And what I'm going to show you is how to use customizer and some CSS to make buttons that look really individualized. And the reason I'm doing that is because other sites do it. I wanted to make a button like this from the mattress site I just got a new mattress from, and the reason they do it is because it just works. Alright, you want variety and you want people to click on the right sort of colors and buttons. So I wanted to make a button just like this with this simple gray background, and let's look at how to do that on X-theme. The first step is just to not use the button element. You don't want to use this element because when you use this element, you get an only limited set of features. True, you can change the text to something else, and you can change the type like flat and get rid of this little 3D, which I don't like very much. And you can do that, but you're not given the set of colors here. Alright, so even if you do this sort of button, you're going to have to go to Customizer, and if you have all of the button elements in your website, they're all going to be changed. Alright, so here we have blue set as my button background, and all the buttons that aren't using my custom technique are going to be blue, and not ideal. It gets even weirder when you have to use some settings on it gets even weirder when some of the same settings are in this button element area, like the size, and then those same settings are in the customizer, because you don't really know which one's controlling the button that you're working on, the very specific button. Alright, so fortunately the X-theme developers did give us this nice button page where you can copy shortcodes from their site onto yours, and that's exactly what we're going to do. You can choose any shortcode, but I particularly really like the flat round button because you see this a lot on prominent websites that we use for e-commerce and all sorts of needs today. So all I'm going to do here is open up this block grid element, which I've drag and dropped into section 1. Alright, block grid is of course one of the elements, and I'm going to look at these buttons individually. So let's open up a block grid item. There's 3 of them for each button, and we can see that number 2, for example, is just button type real, shape rounded, size regular. Haven't even changed the link, and the way I got that was just copying it from the site. This button right here. So if you just copy this and put it on your site, wherever we are, just like that, just paste it in, then we're going to get a button, and then I also want to visual, and I centered it like that, center the button, and then you just change the text, and then it makes it all nice like that. So if we save the button, then we refresh our site, we get this right here. Alright, which is pretty ugly because we don't want this blue background, we want this nice light gray button which we see on the left. So what you do after you've chosen a button shortcode from the theme.co website and pasted it in is you give it a class. Alright, and if we open up the block grid item 1, we can see I've given a class here. Let's make it a little bigger. Class equals clearbutton, and that's just a word I made up that sort of describes what I'm going for. all you do is just write in class equals quotation mark whatever you want to say. It can be like big button or special button, but I like being as descriptive as possible. Just create your own class. Alright, you can even put a dash in there, but I like keeping it really simple, and then you save. That alone won't change anything. What you have to do once you add the class, and of course X does recommend that you add classes too to customize your options right here, is go to Appearance, Customize, to the Customizer, and now we open the Custom tab. And what we have here is .clearbutton, which targets the class of clearbutton. Because it's a class, we use the dot or the period, and then we have to match the wording exactly. So if this said big button, then this would have to say big button right here, but I'm going with clearbutton. And what I've done then, now that I'm targeting it, is just written in some CSS. And that just comes because I know which CSS selectors to use, and because I've right-clicked and done Inspect Element, and I've found the button. I've opened up the right section and I've found the button, and then on the right I've come to understand what CSS the developers used. Now I know this looks a bit confusing, of course, but all we have here in these two sections, 1 and 2, are this custom CSS class that we wrote into our element for clearbutton, and then some code that I stole from the theme itself. This was written by the theme developers, and it's another selector. The background color, which I can highlight and remove here, just removes that background blue, which is set in the customizer button section. So I didn't want that, and I used the CSS for a transparent background color. The border width just changes the width of the border right here, so it's pretty thin now, which is also nice actually. And then I just made the border width 2 pixels, so that border is a little thicker. Alright, and then down below in the second section, I got rid of the text shadow on the writing on this paragraph text. So if I remove that, if I cut it out, then you get this little background on each letter, which I didn't want. I don't know why they did that, because you don't see that around the web too much these days. That's how to remove a text shadow with this CSS. And then I just gave the button some more space, so it's a little more room for people to click. Alright, so you can make the button bigger with padding. So I know it's a little bit much to process, but if you actually do exactly as we've done in this tutorial, and you use this flat round button shortcode from the ThemeCo site, which I'll link in the video notes of course. It was this regular sized button shortcode. And then you use this custom CSS, which I'll also put in the video notes below so that you don't have to write this out. You can just experiment with the CSS that I've already learned, because I know it's the right CSS. And of course you make sure to add those block grid items like we did right here, and make sure to enter in that class, because this class connects this button with the CSS we wrote. Then everything will work, and hopefully you'll be happy. I know I'm very happy to understand how to make a custom button color and not have to be controlled by the rules of this overall theme, even though it's an awesome theme. Alright, so let's save and publish. Again, I'm going to copy paste all this CSS into the notes below, so you can just copy paste it right into your CSS in Customizer. Make sure to get all those punctuation marks right, like these semicolons and the dashes and the little brackets, because otherwise things won't work, and you might wonder why it's not working, but it's usually because of a simple reason like that. Alright, keep those buttons smooth and simple. Definitely make sure to check out the video notes below, where I'll put the CSS we wrote and this link to this Integrity ThemeCo page. And yeah, you now know how to make customized buttons on the X theme in WordPress, so enjoy. See you next time.